Be it fashion or home decor, the chevron print always comes back into trend every few years. In this video, we will teach you to create a chevron pattern but using the quilting technique. A chevron accent can be used somewhere on the bed or maybe even a table cover in your favorite color. For this project, you will need 3 pieces of printed fabric of ½ meter each. The size of the fabric depends on the length and the breadth of the final quilt. 1 piece of white fabric of 1 meter. This fabric will be the common base fabric that will be attached with the printed fabric, and hence we need ½ meter extra. Cutting mat, quilting ruler, rotary fabric cutter, iron, thread, beaded pins and scissors. So let's begin. All the fabrics have to be cut into 8 by 8 inches squares. For this project we will need 9 pieces of plain white fabric, 3 pieces of checkered fabric, 3 pieces of dark blue fabric, 3 pieces of red printed fabric. We will first learn to cut the fabric to create perfect squares. Take the printed red fabric and fold it into half. This is the wrong side of the fabric, and this is the right side. Now fold the fabric from the opposite end as shown to create 4 layers. Use the quilting scale to firstly cut the fabric on the 2 sides to ensure we have a perfect edge. This step is very important. A slightly crooked line can ruin the final outcome. Once you have cut the 2 sides, let's create square pieces of 8 by 8 inches. Count 8 boxes on the bottom and side and align the scale. Use the rotary fabric cutter to cut on the 2 sides. That's it! We have 4 pieces of the red printed fabric ready. We have done the same process for the blue, the checkered and the white fabric. Let's work with the red and white fabric now. Place the red fabric on the white fabric, front facing front as shown in the video. We will now stitch on all 4 sides of the square. Take the fabric to your Usha Janome Memory Craft quilting machine. We have already kept the machine ready with the HP foot along with the HP plate. Set the machine to straight stitch and begin to sew all around the square. With the HP foot and plate accurate stitches and perfect starts have gotten easier on any type of fabric. It's great for curves and precise top stitching. Once you come towards the end of one side, stop the machine, lift the needle and turn the fabric and continue stitching. Repeat this process until all the sides of the squares are stitched. This is how your stitches should look like. Now we will cut the square diagonally in both directions like shown in the video. This will give us 4 triangle pieces. Each triangle piece will have the stitch line at the bottom. Take one of the triangles and open the fabric as shown. Iron the fabric on the front side to flatten the seam. Ironing is a very important step to get the desired result. Once done, turn the fabric wrong side up. Open the seam allowance with the help of your fingers and iron to flatten it. Repeat the same process on the remaining triangles to create 4 perfect square pieces. Cut off the excess fabric on the corners like shown in the video. Now we need to ensure that the square pieces are perfect. Match the 45-degree angle line on the quilting ruler to stitch line of the square. And make sure you cut a 5-inch by 5-inch square perfectly. Repeat the same process on the other pieces. Before we go on to joining the squares, here is how the entire pattern will look like. Once ready, see the V shape. This is the chevron pattern. Now let's work on top layers of this pattern. Lay out the squares next to each other as shown. Ensure the pattern is followed. Lay the first square over the second, third over the fourth, and the fifth over the sixth as shown, front facing the front. We will now stitch the left sides of all these squares. Secure the fabric using beaded pins. Adjust the fabric under the presser foot and sew the pin side of the square. Once done, cut the thread. Repeat the same process on the remaining squares. Once all the 3 pieces are done, repeat the ironing process, first on the top, and then open the seam line and iron the seam allowance as shown. Iron all the 3 pieces in a similar way. When you finish doing this, lay the pieces next to each other as shown. We will now stitch the first piece to the second piece. Place it front facing front and stitch. Now we join the third piece to it. Stitch and iron just like before. And done! Our top for the chevron quilt is ready. Lay out the squares next to each other as shown. Ensure the pattern is followed. Lay the first square over the second, third over the fourth, and the fifth over the sixth as shown, front facing the front. We will now stitch the left sides of all these squares. We have prepared another row in the same way. Keep it to form the chevron pattern. We will now join these 2 rows. Keep it front facing the front. Make sure you match the seam lines of both the fabrics to avoid any out of sync patterns. Pin the 2 rows together. Let's stitch this. Repeat the same process of stitching. Your first chevron pattern is ready. We can now add as many rows as you want using different colors and fabrics under this pattern. We have attached the checkered and the blue chevron designs under it. Isn't this looking gorgeous? Wasn't that easy? It's just repeating the same process multiple times and creating a masterpiece. Once you get a hang of it, it can be very therapeutic. So, go on, then create new designs, play with colors and fabrics of your choice.